Hello, my name's Skye William Eade, and I'm a fourth year PhD candidate at London Metropolitan University School of Art, Architecture and Design. I'm in the fourth year of my practice-based PhD in art. Uh, Today I'm going to talk about my central finding, that being the dyslexic sublime. So a brief overview of dyslexia then. Essentially, um, dyslexia is a, uh, a difficulty with the word. The etymology of the word dyslexia, dys being difficulty, lexus, lexia, to read. It is recognized as a learning disability, and there are brain differences attributable to the individual, such as propensity to use the right side of the brain more than the non-dyslexic, as many studies have outlined, cited there by Stein as one of the authors. These challenges, difficulties, hinder our performance at school often and in other educational settings, particularly if there's no intervention in place, causing frustration, feelings of inadequacy, um, and this otherness. Over the last decade or so, there is more literature emerging on the strengths attributable with dyslexia, such as visual spatial awareness and visual thinking. Two authors there who have written books on the strengths of dyslexia, Thomas G. West and Brock and Bernadette Eade. Eide's book, The Dyslexic Advantage, calls these strengths the dyslexic advantages. So this otherness I just spoke of, experienced often by dyslexics, is also evident in the sublime. Definition of the sublime in art there, transcending ordinary perception, this terror, otherness, trauma, sense of awe, challenging comprehension. Historical context, the significance of the sublime, probably the earliest known writer is Longinus, Greek philosopher, in his treatise on the sublime. He spoke of elevation, loftiness of thought, strong emotion, Greek term pathos. Much later in the 18th century, Irish politician Burke wrote a book on the sublime entitled Philosophical Inquiry of the Sublime and the Beautiful. It's like an encyclopedia of the sublime, again expounding on this terror, threat, pain, amongst many other aspects attributable to the sublime. Contemporaneous with Burke, coming a bit later, is Kant. In his critiques of judgment, he conceived of the dynamical sublime, a sense of awe in nature again, or the mathematical sublime, vast in extent or number. Kant also talked of the suprasensible, going beyond the senses. Later, in the 1980s, Lyotard, in his seminal book, Postmodern Condition, speaks of a postmodern sublime. Lyotard, in other writing, also talks of the differend, this inexpressible and unresolved, because due to being unable to express, and the event disrupting norms or challenging norms. So in my research, I I have discovered gaps in the literature. There is limited research on dyslexia and creativity, particularly in relation to perceptual differences. There's the ongoing debate of this connection between dyslexia and creativity, and this calls for further investigation empirically. I'm using a multidisciplinary approach. So I'm an artist, I'm a dyslexic artist, and I'm making art, and I am reviewing the literature in the philosophical literature on the sublime, and cognitive science, dyslexia, social science, psychology. So in recent few years, there's some interesting research that's come out that calls for more research in a multidisciplinary research into the sublime and psychology. Writer there states, to truly understand the weight of the sublime, multidisciplinary research that engages with facets of psychology and sociology ought to be undertaken to study the effect these experiences have on human behavior. Cluis and colleagues says the sublime appears to be a topic of emerging interest in psychology. So this calling for more interdisciplinary research into the sublime in relation to mental health, well-being, a sense of awe in nature, again, for example. My methodology, I utilized a qualitative approach. You use also a phenomenological approach. This is a practice-based PhD. So throughout, I've made artwork as I'm an artist, and explored the processes. So the focus being phenomenology is really on those experiences, lived experience of dyslexic artists and the processes we go through when making art. I've also used reflexivity in my methodology as a self-analysis tool. My positionality as a researcher is an insider, being a dyslexic artist. So this calls for caution on my influence or tendency or bias in my research processes and findings. Furthermore, in my methodology, then I selected 21 dyslexic artists, some online through social media networking, some were referrals, and others acquaintances I'd met along the way through previous study. So initially I conducted semi-structured interviews with these dyslexic artists through Zoom and other online platforms. The reason for this, we were in the middle of COVID-19 and in stages of lockdown. The participants felt quite comfortable with this, though, and I ensured that I conducted my research in accordance with the ethical standards set out by my university. Further on in my research, I conducted 3 workshops with the cohort where I really dug deeper into the art making processes rather than just the lived experience. And what I found with these dyslexic artists was often unique perspectives where they engaged heightened senses. They would notice things that might otherwise be overlooked, and strong emotion, incorporating elements of awe and wonder and transcendence and otherness in their art making or art. People often assume that being dyslexic and that being artists, they're having an easy time, but often they discover obstacles in the creative process. But they're able to surmount these and through their distinct creative expression. So they develop these visual spatial strengths, knowingly or unknowingly, and related concepts such as divergent thinking and intuition. And these are they're able to use these to leverage these obstacles and as adaptive strategies. Some insights there on the Sublime from the participants. KT describes dyslexia as otherworldly, bigger than us, which he related to the Sublime. DB, in the making of art, talks of moments of clarity, magical moments, the numinous, relatable to the Sublime. Other findings: discrimination, stigmatization, marginalization, common amongst if not all of the participants. This was often due to societal attitudes. But these artists were able to transcend and transform these experiences of otherness in their creativity through resilience and determination and making unique art. So the Dyslexic Sublime responds to this discrimination, celebrating diversity, challenging norms, promoting inclusivity in the arts. A more general view of commonalities I found: themes and patterns, again, the intuitive expression, sensory sensitivity, holistic, bigger picture thinking, transcendence again. Often these artists in their younger years, as I said, experience trauma, stupefaction, humiliation repeatedly. But in their adolescence, they find art. And this is what's been referred to as the niche. They find this niche and they're able to grow in a positive way. Alexandra Parsay has written a paper on this post-traumatic growth, as well as others. Weird otherness, empathy, the empathy, and the trauma and the humiliation, difference in interpretation, preference for the use of the imagination, right brain propensity, particularly in the art making, transcending linguistic barriers through their art, profound emotional responses, so pathos, the Greek term, strong, powerful emotions. So there are some researchers out there who claim that the dyslexic individual is not necessarily disabled, but just has a differently wired brain, and this is a natural design and can be useful as an explorative and creative asset. It's important to state not all dyslexic artists embody the sublime, but the concept can be useful and in offering insights into their different perspectives and thereby contribute and enrich contemporary art. So in my research, as part of the process, I explored the parallels between the sublime and dyslexia, such as the strong emotion found in the sublime, the pathos cited there by Grube on Longinus treatise, and more recently studies by Sturm and colleagues who found these strong emotions, intensified emotions in the dyslexic individuals they tested compared to the controlled non-dyslexic group. Otherness, unconventional thinking. Ursula Mahoney, expert in the field, speaks there of dyslexics dealing with otherness throughout their lives, and the otherness in the sublime, the suprasensible, Kant again, and Lyotard, the different. Triumph over adversity, transcendence. So the sublime can arise from overcoming adversity, paralleling with the dyslexic experience of humiliation and confusion, how they navigate that successfully. So the concept of the dyslexic sublime posits that individuals have unique art making styles and unique art through the experience of otherness, thereby celebrating diversity and fostering inclusivity. John Stein, professor of neuroscience of Oxford University, spoke at the British Dyslexia Association conference in 2021 of superior perceptual abilities evident in the dyslexic individual. I talked to Skye through personal communication last year. I asked him to elaborate on this because it caught my attention. And I also asked him how he thought the Sublime fits with the dyslexic brain. He said, I think it fits with superior detection of symmetry and sublimity because they, the dyslexics, see more of a complete picture in one glance than others do. So this, again, this bigger picture, holistic, global thinking in relation to the Sublime. So in conclusion, then, the Dyslexic Sublime reevaluates dyslexia, offering creative insight, challenges traditional perceptions of disability and societal norms, responds to discrimination, celebrating diversity, promoting inclusivity in the arts, enriching expression, stimulating innovation and different perspectives, valuable in both art and education, promoting neurodiversity and inclusivity, and inspires dyslexic artists to explore their unique way of creating. Here are my references. Thank you for listening, and please ask questions.